Hi, I'm Sohini. I am the Vice President of Resource Mobilisation for Breakthrough. We have with us today a very valued partner and a guest from the Vodafone Foundation. Madhu, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm Madhu Sirohi and I'm the head of Vodafone Foundation in India.
So Madhu, let me take you through a few interesting things that I think our audience would like to hear about. So tell me first, how would you think that we could build a strong partnership between the private sector and an organization like ours which works on women's rights?
So partnership, I think, is a word, Sohini, that has pretty much the same connotation for it to be a meaningful and strong one, whether it is used in a personal context, an official context, a corporate context, or between two organizations. One, there needs to be a synergy of vision. You have got to want the same thing out of a particular project or initiative or out of the partnership. So a synergy of vision. Secondly, I would say trust. There needs to be trust between the two organizations. While it has a different connotation in a personal space, in an official space it would probably mean credible reporting, accountability, transparency, and probably adhering to each other's frameworks, whether they may be in policy or in compliance. Lastly, I would say probably a lot of collaboration. Each partnership is initiated on a shared vision, but it is then replicated based on how collaborative the effort was. So exchange of information, knowledge, again, reports, etc. form a strong foundation for the partnership to be sort of chugging towards success and for both partners to be able to match steps. And inherently, I think that these are simple rules to follow, and I think any partnership can go from strength to strength if we can keep the basics right.
So, you're saying that it's also important to build a shared vision with the corporate partner. How do we do it?
A shared vision, again, is now a different thing. A vision for each organization is formulated largely amongst internal stakeholders. So there is a very good chance that by the time you're approaching the corporate ecosystem, you're approaching people who may already have some kind of an idea of what their vision in this particular area might be, or let's say what their focus might be. But largely, I think that anyone who is looking at the CSR space or the development space with the all-round approach would be looking at the key things that are important in a nation's development and growth. Those would automatically synergize with good development organizations because that is how they are selecting their key agendas as well. I would say that there is a lot more collaboration required preemptively in terms of roundtables, in terms of initiating researches. In Vodafone Foundation, we strongly believe in initiating researches in different areas and trying to see what are the gaps. What are the areas that actually require intervention? So it's not whimsical or subjective. It is based on extremely sound, grounds, which I do think that is a very is an approach that people are taking to these days. And then I think we could always have collaborative platforms or roundtables where these discussions can happen to see what indeed emerges as an area of synergy and as an area of mutual focus. Herein, while the vision may not be exactly the same, but the directionality of both organizations sort of marching together comes together very clearly. So I would encourage sharing of research, initiating of research, roundtables, platforms which are not just a one-way platform. So we're not necessarily sitting on a panel and talking to a large audience, but closed groups where such points can be brought forward and common focus areas agreed on.
Right. How do you, in such a partnership, deal with sensitive issues like, social justice, human rights?
I think that inherently, like I was saying previously, that inherently it is all corporate social responsibility initiatives or large donor initiatives are looking at the space of socio-economic growth and development. And when you're looking at economic growth or you're looking at social issues, if you give it a wide lens, all of them are issues of human rights and social justice inherently. So when you do give somebody a right to education, when you extend those facilities to them, when you support and you partner on an education program with a child or a girl child, I think essentially you are extending a hand to sort of help that person fulfill their rights as a human being. So to my mind, there isn't any divergence in vision in terms of human rights and social justice. I think very, very fundamentally, everyone is actually enveloping different causes, but they most certainly target both these issues in a very positive and holistic way.
That's really heartening to hear you say that. So, can you talk about a really particularly good experience you've had with one of your NGO partners?
Certainly. We work with up to 12 to 13 partners as of now. These are large pan-India projects. In a particular case, an NGO we work with where we've noticed, certain protocols and processes they follow which have been very easy to sort of, match step with, have been one, a very clear proposal at the stage of conceptualizing the initiative, with all its particulars spelt out extremely clearly. What happens in this case is then there is a really clear framework of what is going to be the timeline, what are going to be the components, what are going to be the roles and responsibilities. And I know everyone puts these in a proposal, but in this particular case what we found was that preemptively the vision had been very well enveloped. Then there was a very clear budgeting, and the budgeting did not leave too much room for vague interpretation. There were specifics, and once the program started rolling, there was a very clear monitoring and evaluation framework, and the indicators that were going to be mapped, or the KRAs etc. of every area very clearly spelled out. This helped the NGO concerned do a very good baseline. So even before you hit ground, you've done some indicators that you hope to affect, and the NGO was reporting very clearly on quantitative and qualitative dashboards for the quantitative, very, very regular reporting for the qualitative. This was very heartening. And at the culmination of each such project leg, there was a great a statement submitted, very clearly audited on financial utilization, giving great clarity on how the grant was spent, etc. And finally at closure, being very, very meticulous and process oriented about handing over of hardware responsibility, etc. Also including things like IPR, joint copyrights, etc. very clearly. So this particular experience left me thinking that end to end it was more than I have experienced otherwise.
Great. Can you tell me about any challenges you've had with that NGO partner?
So as corporates, and especially in the Vodafone Foundation, we completely understand that our NGO partners don't always have the same resources, whether human or infrastructural or otherwise, to be able to probably match rigor with corporate processes. But some challenges we fundamentally placed are on the fact that sometimes it's difficult for grassroots organizations to understand, one, the approvals required around brand and around communication, and around certain policies which may be inherent to the organization. So in Vodafone's case, it is the health and safety policy. We are extremely particular about it and very proud of being very HSW compliant. But sometimes it may not be possible for our partners to match step with what we may require. And again, in branding, very often we have these chats with our grassroots partners to say that why does this have to be on the top left? Why can't we just accommodate it at the bottom if a light is going to be fixed there? So those are common challenges, because we have our colleagues in brand,
right,
very specifically asking us to follow brand protocol, and we have grassroots partners not quite being able to comprehend what this is about. Same with communication, we've had a lot of challenges in ensuring that all parties, so sometimes programs have 4 partners, may have 3 partners, the rigor around ensuring that every partner's approval, every partner's buy-in is there on the communication that goes out to the external world, to the digital world, as well as to print media. So those are some things, but I think that, I'm sure that things are changing, capacities are building.
And how do you, so how would you tackle this problem with your partners?
Right. We have found, Sohini, that there is no lack of intent. The intent to be able to partner successfully is there with most of our grassroots partners and the ones who are in the ecosystem. We felt there is actually a shortage of information or information exchange. So some solutions that at least Vodafone Foundation implemented and found extremely good to deal with the challenges was, one, get partners into a room and do an open house. We recently did an open house with all our partners, where you can get your own colleagues in legal, brand, communication, procurement to come and speak to them about what the expectation is, what are the various departments seeking, and clear it right at the initiation so that everyone has a good understanding of what is expected and expectations can be managed. Here it should be a very interactive atmosphere where you encourage the partners to be able to ask questions, to be able to share openly what even their concerns might be. Secondly, we've put in place capacity building for our partners. So while we are heavily invested in project initiatives, we felt this was incomplete without investing in capacity building of our partners. So there are leadership cadres that we are running to be able to let the leaders of those organizations, while some of these are extremely evolved people as they are, but to get them a sense of what the corporate world is expecting in that sense, and to also be able to help them deliver better to their own projects and ecosystem. And then we are running some accelerator programs for mid-level and senior level management at our NGO partners, for them to be able to understand project monitoring frameworks, reporting, utilization, social auditing, SROI, because while some of them are extremely good at already being very familiar with all this jargon, but a lot of them are who have been in very remote areas and have not really had the opportunity to build these capacities. So I feel that with a couple of these things, if we were to look at carefully, we would be able to overcome challenges that emerge at a later stage.
So to sum it up, from our previous discussion, what is it that corporate partners are looking into this kind of partnerships? What are they looking for?
I don't know whether, it is, there are two things. What are they looking for in a project and what are they looking for in a partner? So in a partner, I think they're looking for a domain expert, somebody who has the reach to be able to implement what the project focus area or an agreed vision is. Also, I think with Section 135 of the Companies Act and Schedule 7 guiding all of us on what we need to be doing in years to come, they're also looking for a good rigor in reporting, in a good rigor in data collection, and in projects, what they're looking for are meaningful projects where there can be scale. The idea is to put forward a model that can outlive its geography or its immediate beneficiary list. And they're also looking probably at a joint definition of success. So if our joint definition of success is we will have 100,000 girls going to school at a district in Rajasthan, then I guess what is very heartening for a corporate is to eventually be able to actualize it and back it with credible data, credible reporting. So I think that as long as there is a joint vision, a rigor in aspects around it, a corporate partner is more than willing to sort of handhold the domain expert, knowing what their limitations might be in terms of their own geographies and resource availability.
In a partnership with an NGO, are you looking for a return, and what kind of?
I think that the intent of a corporate social responsibility project itself from the corporate is coming from a point of view of doing good of, you know, going out of the stream of its business to do something extra. I think they are in a situation, they are, you know, deploying manpower, they are putting in funds with an intent of creating a social impact. I think a lot of corporates, and here I'm speaking beyond my own company also, that a lot of corporates take singular steps to initiate projects in areas where their production units, manufacturing units might be, etc. So I think that the intent is largely of giving. I would again go back to say that you know, reputations, whether they be corporate or of NGOs, are fragile things. So if I would say that from, you know, a perspective of a corporate, what they are largely wanting in return, if you may say, I don't know whether return is the right word, is you know, a good legal and compliance alignment to ensure that there is no risk to both reputations of both partnering organizations. And that again needs to have that backing. You know, why corporates, again, you know, to add to your last questions, why corporates, you know, what they're expecting from partners is also that usually corporates in their areas of CSR and foundations don't have a large enough team. So, you know, they are looking at also the implementing partner not only to be a domain expert, but also to be its you know, arms and eyes, so as to say, to actually give shape to the project. So I think that compliance and legalities are something that one would hope and wish that the organization who's implementing would be equally mindful of.
And you know, so I know you just said that CSR departments are, you know, very sparsely populated. So what would be the level of engagement for the corporate partner in an NGO's project or a partnership? Would you like to, you know, form the design it together, or just participate in it, or help it implement? So what are the kind of involvement?
Sure, I think that's a valid question, and one I think that must be crossing the minds of many, you know, sort of recipient of a donation from a corporate, to say what. I think it largely depends on the corporate, and on the corporate itself, it depends on their team size, availability of resources, intent, a couple of things. If I was to generalize, I would say that in say something like an event which was being co-hosted, there may be a more hands-on involvement, because I know that there would be a lot of branding and communication being done. I think in something which is programmatic, there would be more of a dependency on reporting, while as there would need to be more of an agreement on the monitoring and evaluation framework. And I think that in something like, so in events, they would be more approval based, maybe not hands-on. In projects, it would be reporting and monitoring and evaluation. But I think in the first decision making as to what the inclusions in the program or what the inclusions in a proposal might be, there may be a more hands-on involvement. This I think would roughly be the approach most people would take, because I don't think they have really the luxury of a team size to co-implement.
And that brings me to my last question, and this is very Vodafone focused. So, being a technology company, what is your interest in women's empowerment?
Right. So, women's empowerment sits at the very heart of Vodafone Foundation's very many projects. And actually, being a technology company, there's not only a minor relevance, there is a huge relevance as to why we are partnering in this space. One, the tool, that is the mobile phone, and also data and you know, technology that we offer, we believe is transformative. It gives every woman access, and it is something that every woman has lacked down the centuries. They have not had the luxury of exposure, sometimes not even outside their households, sometimes not even of their faces, and definitely not to other issues that might be there or solutions that might be there. I think this technology has given them the dignity of access on their own terms. You can literally be under a ghungat and look at your phone and source information about how to give your child nutrition. You can actually make that phone call to a helpline and have a one-to-one conversation without any intervention from any external party. Secondly, I think it's a huge enabler. In areas where there is no access, it enables education, it enables health services, it enables agricultural services, it is an employment seeking and training tool, very, very inherent to marginalized, an area or a sector which may have been marginalized due to gender, economics, geography, whatever the reason might be. So very hugely important. And lastly, we do believe that when you create access to a woman and enable her, it impacts not only her, her family, her society, because she's a great change maker. She's the fulcrum of a family system and a societal system. So therefore her empowerment becomes sort of the gateway to the empowerment of her children, her family, sanitation, cleanliness around her, hygiene of her house, the way she cooks. So to me, there could not be a more important agenda than women empowerment for an organization like ours, which holds this technology that is so transformative and reaches the last mile.
Well, that was really informative, useful, heartening. Thank you so much for coming here today.
Thank you, Sohini. Thank you for having me here.
Thanks.